Welcome to Smart Women Talk. This is your host, Katana Abbott. I'm a midlife millionaire coach and a certified financial planner, and I search the world for smart women and a few good men, including best-selling authors and thought leaders who are on that leading edge. So join us for conversations on money, business, health, and inspiration, so you can live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Hi, everyone, and this is Katana Abbott. I'm your host, and I want to welcome you to Smart Women Talk. I have been working with baby boomers for over 35 years, helping them figure out how to retire and their biggest fear, that's running out of money. So whether you're just starting to save in your 401k or your IRA or your Roth IRA, maybe you're getting ready to retire, or maybe you just retired, today's show is going to help you feel more confident about your planning. So think about this. How do you even know how much you need to get you through 3 decades? Because if you retire at 65, you want to make sure you have enough to get you through to age 95, right? Because we're living so long. So one of the greatest tools that we have available to help us combat all of this is Social Security, because we're looking at things like stock market crashes, inflation, and taxes. So we are going to learn why Social Security plays such an important role and should be the foundation of your retirement planning. So today I've invited an expert on this. His name is Kregg Walisiak, and he is a retirement income consultant. So we're going to be talking about how to optimize your Social Security benefits and how to maximize your legacy. We're going to also share some strategies to create additional income streams that you won't outlive, and also some ways to preserve and grow your wealth without having it in harm's way. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Kregg Walisiak is a seasoned retirement income consultant with over 15 years experience in the safe money industry. Kregg provides retirement income solutions to take the guesswork out of the equation, so his clients can retire with confidence and be able to assure that their legacy will become their reality. So Kregg, thank you so much for agreeing to come today. We've worked together for a couple of years, and this is the first time we're actually doing a show.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited to be here and look forward to helping empower your audience.
I always talk about some of us are front stage, some of us are backstage, and focusing on our unique abilities. And you're really like the guy behind the scenes. And I like to be out front. I love doing seminars and meeting with people. I really am thrilled that you're here to share some of the secrets and solutions that people are not aware of, Kregg. When we do these seminars, people are shocked when we share all the information that we do.
That's still surprising. I've been doing this for so long, and still it's kind of puzzling. It's not a secret, but being able to utilize Social Security and make that as the cornerstone for retirement could be a little bit perplexing. So I really enjoy working together with you and being able to come up with solutions that can help clients have the best optimal retirement as possible.
I mentioned that the biggest fear people have is running out of money. And I think the first question they have when they think about Social Security is, when should I take it? And as you and I know, 44% of baby boomers or retirees take it when they're 62. So let's talk about this idea of what is the best time to take Social Security. That's the huge question I think people want to know.
And you know, it's unique for everybody, essentially. It's always going to be different. I think the basic concept is we could start Social Security as early as possible, age 62. We're going to get more checks over our retirement, but they're not going to be as large a checks if we were to postpone it and wait until max of age 70. So the concept is, how do I make sure what strategy goes into place? Do I want to start income now? Everybody would like to. Who doesn't want to have a check? But I think that what we find is math doesn't lie. So what we do, take the equations and put together, well, what if I were to wait? If I were to wait, the advantage is that check that I could get at 62, each year that I wait, I could have an increase on that dollar amount. So you have a huge difference from 62 till 70. I look at it as, well, if I don't start to I don't start my Social Security at age 62, well, then that means that I still need income because I'm going to retire. Well, where does that income come from? I have my 401k, my IRA, all my savings. Well, maybe I tap into that first to be able to get a larger check down the road. So larger checks, less of them versus smaller checks and more of them. There's the advantage also that comes into play that you want to consider is taxation. How much of the Social Security is going to be taxed? And think about that, right? Social Security was a program we had to put the money aside. Government's going to pay us when we retire. That was never supposed to be taxed. Now, part of that Social Security will be taxed depending on the other income that you're going to be spending throughout retirement. So I want to consider how much of the money from Social Security is going to be in our pocket and how much is going to have to go to Uncle Sam. I also want to make sure that the money that I have, I don't want to spend it all and leave nothing to my family. I would like to be able to preserve that as best I can, but also be mindful of the potential ups and downs in the market. So I think that from a basic mathematics standpoint, if you could look at your asset and imagine that you could get a guarantee of 8% year after year, and on top of that, also have a cost of living adjustment added to that, that's going to be guaranteed by our government. It's not a bad option to consider postponing and taking advantage of that increase.
Well, and the difference between taking early and your normal retirement age, you're taking, if your retirement age is 66 or 67, it's going to be a 25 to 30% pay cut for the rest of your life.
Correct.
And then if you wait till 67, each year from 67 to 70, you're going to get an additional 8%. So that means from 62 to 70, there's a 76% increase. And it doesn't look that noticeable when you see those monthly amounts, but when you annualize it and then you add two, let's say if there's a husband and wife and you add both of their Social Security benefits together, then it's a huge difference. And that's what we do in the seminars. We're able to demonstrate that. But I think one of the things you were pointing out is the difference between taking it 62 and 70 is not just 76%, because every year after age 62, so that cost of living is added to your benefits. If you wait till 70, it's right now it would be 123% increase from 62 to 70. So that is huge.
That is quite dramatic. And then I think that also, part of the human nature is, hey, I want it now, right? Instant gratification. If I could get the money starting at age 62, oh, why wouldn't I? Most people do, but I think that if you take the time to go through a planning process and really see the benefits when you go through it and use the software that we use to determine which is going to give us the best outcome, not only from a gross income, but a net income, how much of that money is going to be retained. Again, with the cost of living added onto that, it's an excellent opportunity to take advantage of, and also be able to tie in the fact that, hey, when married couples out there, when one of them does pass away, one of those checks goes away, right? So let's try to, part of our planning process is to be able to determine which of those two paychecks can be as large as we possibly can get that.
Absolutely. My mom was a widow. And so that is extremely important to look at. And so I was looking at the difference between taking benefits at 67 and 70 for a couple, and that survivor benefit was $10,000 higher. If you were to look at it, how much money would you have to have, like a life insurance policy, to generate an extra $10,000 a year for 30 years? You would have to have $330,000. So it doesn't seem like a lot, an extra $10,000 a year. But if you're having to pull money out of a retirement plan, you're going to need another $330,000 to generate that income.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for 30 years. So that's the math we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. But we're not saying everyone should take Social Security at 70. Absolutely not. Every situation is different.
That's right. And so many variables go into that equation. I think ultimately, if we could come up with an opportunity to preserve our assets, leave something behind for our family, and still optimize and get the retirement that we have dreamed about, so we're not having to worry about the checks coming in each and every month. What if there's a way to be able to make sure that we have that check for as long as we can? We can never outlive that, So I think optimizing Social Security is, I think so many advisors out there they take it for granted. Just start to check right now, get the income as soon as you can. It's not always the best for everybody. Some may be, like you said, it's not 70 isn't the magic number for everybody. Some people may have ailments and their health is challenged. So start to check as soon as we can, so everybody's different, but it just takes a little bit of time and effort in comparing side by side 2 or 3 different options before you go ahead and make that election choice.
And I want to point something out, Kregg. We were laughing about this before we started the show, that Social Security was created in 1935. And it was created to keep the elderly and disabled out of poverty. And the retirement age back then in 1935, when you could collect full benefits, was 65.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, if you were born after 1960, it's 67. It's only 2 years later. Mm-hmm. But the average life expectancy back then in 1935. So retirement age was 65. The life expectancy was 59. This was for men. It's 59 years old. So you were supposed to collect after your life expectancy, after you're supposed to be dead, right?
I'm so eager to make that contribution to the taxes so I can never obtain any, right? Never get any of it back because I'll be dead.
Yeah. People retired and they didn't live long. We can look at grandparents and see that with a lot of them. But today, the life expectancy for men is 81. So it's 20 years longer. So what Social Security started out as, keeping the elderly and disabled out of poverty, has now turned into the primary income source for 76 million baby boomers. Mm-hmm. Kregg, let's talk about another thing, because in 1987, when I started my practice, we would say that retirement is like a 3-legged stool. Mm-hmm. And it's made of pension, Social Security, and savings. And if any of those legs are weak or wobbly, your retirement plan is weak. So something happened in 1987, and back then the pensions were maxed. We had 60% of Americans on pension. And all these companies started switching people. Only 4% of Americans have pensions. Can you talk about what happened and why that happened?
Sure. Yeah. So what they realized was all of the largest companies in the U.S. were recognizing that they cannot afford and take on that liability to be able to assure that they'll be able to pay for everybody's retirement. So that whole pension plan, which was wonderful, I remember that was like the whole, the gold watch upon your retirement, and then you skate off into retirement and have checks coming in every month. It was wonderful, but it just wasn't sustainable. So now what they do is they replace the pension plan with the 401k. Now the onus shifted from the employer to the employee. Now it's up to us to be able to preserve the assets, to grow the assets, and then what's most challenging is to be able to make sure that those assets will last for as long as we do. Well, where do you begin to even plan with that? And how do you know? We don't know how long we're going to live. We don't know how long our money will last when we typically get a 401k and we just have a big pile of cash. Well, how are we able to sustain that? So it's been quite the challenge. It is definitely not a replacement of a pension. It's a savings plan, but to be able to turn that into an income stream, that's the biggest challenge now for the average American.
We had pretty much everyone, even people that had 60% stocks, 40% bonds last year in 2022, lost 20 to 30% because even bonds were down because interest rates shot straight up. When you have interest rates going up, bonds come down. So people thought they were safe. They lost 20 to 30%. It's coming back right now. We're really super grateful for that. But imagine if you're moving into retirement and you're thinking you're going to be able to pull money out every year, and all of a sudden, you're down 100,000, 200,000. How does that make you feel?
And that's the reality of it. This is back in '08. It was my wife's uncle. He was getting ready to retire that year. He couldn't afford to do it. He had to add on another 3 more years to his retirement, all because of the unknown, the uncertainty. It's quite alarming because do I continue to work longer, or do I now retire and spend less because I don't have as much? It's unfortunate, but there are solutions out there where you can preserve the 401k and have that into an IRA that can essentially create another additional income stream that could complement your Social Security.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. If someone has a 401k, how do they figure out, how much they can afford to pull out of that IRA and not run out of money?
Yeah, so, that's a great question, because the typical approach used to be the 4% rule. Probably everybody has heard of that. 4%, you could spend it if you have your maybe 60-40 blend of stocks, bonds, then that should be able to last you throughout your retirement. However, that no longer applies because the safe withdrawal rate, they called it 4%, is now less than that because of, like you had mentioned, the interest rates going up. The bonds are not as creating as much opportunity as they had in the past. So therefore, you have to take an approach of, I don't know, what you hope and guess that the market is going to work out in the long run. Well, that's not the only way to do it. There are also opportunities. What we use are fixed index annuities that can guarantee a paycheck just as almost similar to a pension plan. You could protect your money from harm's way. You can, as we've done in the past, we could illustrate and show to the penny on the certain day how much money you'll have for income each and every month for as long as you live. Whether the market goes up or goes down, it doesn't matter, because that income stream is also coming in just like your Social Security, and just like our bills come in month after month. You can preserve the same opportunity and outcome as you would had it been a pension plan.
I just wrote an article about this, that for a 65-year-old woman who is single, who wants to have $25,000 a year income, she would need to have I don't know if I used a 3 or 4% withdrawal rate, but it was $800,000 paying out. I think it was a 3%, paying out this 3% withdrawal rate. Where I ran a fixed indexed annuity, or you actually had you run it for me, the fixed indexed annuity from just, there's dozens and dozens of companies out there, but what it came up with is she needed less than 500,000. So that's to provide her a lifetime income of $25,000 for as long as she lives. And they can do it with a spouse on there as well. So for a couple doing something like this, what Mark and I have looked at, because we have pensions, we have 2 pensions and 2 Social Security, but most people don't have it. But all of our living expenses are guaranteed between the 2 pensions and the 2 Social Securities. And we're going to wait longer, but he could retire at 62 and me at 67, because I'm 5 years older than him. And we would have plenty because of this guaranteed income. But for someone who doesn't have a pension, or maybe the pension's not very much, and they want to guarantee that income, how would you suggest they do it? And what would be the process? So they would, first of all, look at when to take Social Security?
Yeah, that's part of the planning process. Part of it is you want to determine when you want to start your Social Security. You're going to look at what assets that you have currently in place. One of the solutions we use is tying in, okay, how much income can I get based on my age? So I just ran a report earlier today, and this is going to blow you away. So $500,000 is typically based on a 3% withdrawal rate. $500,000 is going to get, for a 30-year retirement plan, you're going to get $16,600 a year. So that's what the math shows you as a safe withdrawal rate to be able to have that money, $500,000, last throughout your retirement. So we have carriers now that for $500,000, you could get, this is based on a single income, just for the husband or wife, $500,000, you could get between $32,000 and $38,000 a year forever. Now, if you can also, like you had said, you can also create that same, whether it's your IRA or your spouse's IRA, you could create that same income stream to last for both of your lives. Now, it's a little less because it's covering and spread out for two people, but that averaged between $29,000 and $33,000 for both husband and wife. You can live to 80, 90, 110. You're still going to get that check year after year. So compare that $16,000 with a safe withdrawal rate of 3% from 500,000 or 32,000. So you're essentially doubling it. You're doubling it. So you can get or hey, $250,000 is going to get you that same 16,600.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so if they need 16,000, then it would take 500,000. However, if they can set up a guaranteed lifetime pension for the husband and wife, then they could take $250,000, half the amount. They can generate that 15,000 for lifetime income for both of them. And the rest of the money can stay in the brokerage account growing for inflation. And it can be used there for other living expenses, for legacy, for things that come up in our lives. For certain. And, we talked about, I think you referred to it as like the slush account. Like, hey, maybe we want to go on another vacation this year. What if I don't have a guarantee? Well, then we're going to have to postpone the vacation. Or what if the market goes down again, or we have a bank run? Are we not going to go on vacation this year? How about if you could set up a plan where you can have that income coming in no matter what happens in the markets? Your money is always protected, and an income is going to be assured to last for as long as you like. So it sounds like the way you figured this out, it's a combination of identifying all the assets you have, your pensions, and how much you need to live on. That's an important thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then you take a look at option A. Let's say someone wants to take benefits let's say immediately for a spouse, and then the high breadwinner say, I'm going to take it at 67. Then we can do an alternate and look at 70 and 62. And then with each of those amounts, we're going to need a different amount of assets. And so I just worked with a woman recently who had to have $440,000 and she only had $200,000 and she was sick. She could not work anymore. So we were able to find a way to give her the income she needed, and all she needed was $150,000 to guarantee a lifetime pension with her Social Security. And she ended up still having an extra $50,000 left, where otherwise she wasn't able to survive, to live. So there's some really great solutions to actually doing an analysis and it's called retirement income planning, because financial planning is different. It's about how to get to retirement, saving as much money as possible, right? Yes. Yeah. It's one thing. The retirement income planning is different. Can you talk about the difference between retirement income planning? Sure. Yeah. I think that to be able to grow your money, we have time on our side and we're adding money to it. Even when the market is down, well, we are continually adding to our savings. So it doesn't seem like it's a dramatic setback, because even though the market's down, we're adding money to it. However, when the flip side is I kind of talked about it as going up the mountain is one thing. Now coming back down from that mountain, you need to have some help and assurance, because that's usually when most accidents will happen, right? On the way down. So think about it. If you have your money in the market and the market is going down, like last year, 20%, and you're looking to pull out that $16,000, now you have to sell something at a loss because you still need the income. So what we like to do is be able to preserve that, take that same money and put it into a vehicle that's going to be protected from any market corrections, and also be able to sustain our income for life. The other thing that, that's available in the market is how many people don't have any long-term care. If they don't have the long-term care coverage to be able to protect them in case life happens, some of those carriers will allow you to double that paycheck. So that's $16,000. If you become ill and you can't perform 2 of 6 ADLs, right? Then they'll double that check for 4 or 5 years in the event you do need more money. So that's a nice other built-in feature that some of them offer to give you peace of mind throughout retirement. You threw out an acronym, and I'm going to say shame on you. ADL.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Activities of daily living. And we know if we have grandparents and we've helped them, that means helping them with dressing and bathing and, getting a shower, going to the bathroom, trying to get a meal, all those things. Or it could be that they get dementia, Alzheimer's, something like that, or they're just in a car accident.
Yeah.
And they're unable, they need in-home care. So you're right. Some of those will double the benefit. So and you don't have to go through underwriting. One thing you didn't point out that I want listeners to know, this is a different kind of pension than what Mark and I have, or a traditional pension where you give the money to the insurance company and then they pay you for life. With this, the cash value is tied to indexes like the S&P 500 or a global fund with well-known money managers. And so whatever those earn, your cash value gets that earnings. And if the market goes down and crashes, it doesn't matter because it locks in whatever you earn each year. And so you do have access to the money until you've received all your money back. And that cash value is gone. But, that's an added benefit too.
Yeah. And think about this, Katana, as well as when you compare and contrast to the pension. A pension it's a paycheck. What happens if somebody, we work for 30 years, we collect our pension, God forbid, 2-3 years later, you kick the bucket, that income is gone. You don't have anything. So in the event of what we like to do is put this into a vehicle that's going to be protected. In that same scenario, God forbid you die earlier than life expectancy, that money is retained. It goes to your spouse, it goes to your kids, your grandchildren. So you maintain and retain control of that money that you've worked for your whole life for.
So why don't more people know about this?
I think you host your class is to be able to empower more people in your area to help them understand that these solutions are available and to be able to talk about them and help them understand how it works. Some may think that they're complicated. I don't know. Prospectuses aren't the easiest thing to read with any stock and bond either, but I think that they are starting to catch on a lot more. They're the most, 5 years ago, they became the most requested products of financial advisors. So the word, I believe, is getting out there, and I don't know why it hasn't been, because if you could guarantee income, who doesn't want to partake in that?
Doing the 15 years, I am sorry, I know the reason, because it's so complex. And the advisors want to do they want to manage the assets, but they don't want to get distracted with looking at dozens and dozens of different companies with all kinds of different products, and they may not even be able to be licensed with them. So I just think it's important to really find someone who knows what they're doing, and they, can be objective and do what's in your best interest here.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And I wanted to share that I just read, I think it's Vanguard is considering adding the fixed indexed annuity to the 401k plan. I read the business news every morning. And so they said it's because the people don't have pensions and they're looking for how can they get guaranteed income.
Yeah.
That's why companies like TIACREF, they require people to take income, and they want you to take guaranteed income because it's very important. So,
Absolutely.
So anyway, was there anything else that you wanted to add? Because I think this has been really helpful to share with people some of the options about creating income in retirement.
Well, I would say a parting thought would be Warren Buffett. Right. Warren Buffett's rule number 1 is never lose your money. Warren Buffett's rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Right. So if you can just preserve your assets and take a portion of your assets that we determine how much money that you'd like to have each and every year for the rest of your life. Let's carve out however much of that asset is needed. Let's protect it and get the income stream that we need for the rest of our life. We cannot outlive it. But then also know that that money is never going to be lost. It's not going to be in harm's way, and you're retaining control of your assets. Again, lifetime income. Hey, if you could tell me when you're going to die, I could tell you exactly how much you're going to need. But since we don't know that, right, it's a moving target. It could be tricky. I would say that Social Security, getting that check as large as we can for as long as it can be, postponing that to be able to get a larger check in retirement seems to work out really well. And again, the cost of living adjustment that's added to that, there are ways to be able to provide the income that we do want to have for the rest of our retirement. And again, taking it out of harm's way and being able to know specifically how much that income will be, as opposed to hoping that things work out in the market.
Well, and it's again what we talked about, because we don't know what inflation will be. We know taxes are going up and stock market corrections. We just don't know. And people could live really, really long. They could have a long-term care stay. There's so many variables. So I think to summarize, it's to find out when is the best time to take Social Security. So if you're married or have a partner, then you want to look at claiming at different times, even find out how much the shortage is for income after pensions and Social Security. And see how much assets. We use something like a 3% rule because the brokers all take 1%, so you can't take 4%.
Yeah.
So taking a 3% withdrawal rate, how much will you need? And then compare that to what if I guarantee that shortage using something like a fixed indexed annuity, then all the rest is going to be surplus. So I think it's a neat solution.
For certain. And like we said earlier, we did the math on it. We used that reference of 16,600. You could acquire that for 250,000, or you can use 500,000 and devote that to hope that it works out. I mean, if you show me two houses side by side or the same exact house, I could buy it for 250 or I could buy it for 500. Give me it for 250 all day long. And then it's guaranteed, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I appreciate that you work so hard to be able to help all of the people in your area and educate them and empower them so they can really enjoy that retirement they've always dreamed about.
Yeah, you're talking about the Social Security seminars I'm doing.
Yes.
Oh, Kregg, it's the most fun thing I've ever done. I have to tell you, I love it. And I'm meeting so many people from my community now. And the comments, they're one of the biggest shocks they have is how Social Security is taxed. And by maximizing the guaranteed income from Social Security, you minimize the amount of assets it takes and you minimize the taxes. So that's the three things they're going to learn when they come to the seminar. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that those classes, and then be able to, again, go through and perform a stress test on our situation and what you can do for them, just to help them understand, hey, it's their choice, but by you giving them that much more knowledge and understanding, they're going to be in a better position to make the choice that's best for them in their retirement.
So I think if someone is interested in learning more about Social Security optimization, what do you think they should do?
Go to your class. And then I think that also, there's going to be probably a lot of people that have one-on-one questions. I would urge everybody that's watching the show to type in questions, send them to Katana. She'd be more than happy to help wherever she can. I think that there's again, if you just take the time and get some research or gain some knowledge as far as how you can have an impact on your Social Security, then by all means, take the time and do the research. And I would say definitely consult with you because you are fantastic at what you do.
Well, and you are the man behind the scenes for me. So anyway, okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank you for taking the time and explaining this to everybody. And we will stay in touch. Okay.
Sounds great, Katana. Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Okay. Thanks, Kregg. And for everyone that is listening, if you want to join our free community, you go to joinsmartwomen.com. And when you do, you'll be on our list. You'll know when we have events coming up. You'll know who our guests are. You'll get the great articles. And you'll also be learning about Social Security. And you'll have access to all those resources because they're all posted in the community. So that's joinsmartwomen.com. And till our next show, everyone, go out and live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Smart Women Talk is brought to you by Smart Women's Empowerment, a 501c3 nonprofit project of United Charitable. Music by Bill Lucas from his album, When It Rains. Available on Apple Music and Spotify. Catch us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and be sure to join our free community at joinsmartwomen.com to access all our free Smart Women resources.